Whenever a new video game system comes out, there are hackers out there who are dedicated to hacking this system. They want to see what this system has to offer. They want to know all the specs of the system. And of course, they want to see what they could push the system to do by putting things like emulators and games that shouldn't be on the system to have running on the system. With the Nintendo Switch, it's been out for less than a year, but hackers have been hard at work trying to crack firmwares of the Nintendo Switch in order to see what the system can do. Now, of course, when you get into hacking and stuff, you get into the two different camps, those who are for hacking and emulators, those who are against it. Me personally, I feel like those people are going to do what they do anyway. So is there really any point in trying to stop them? Emulators have been around forever. I've been playing emulators since the year 1999. It's not like it's anything new, but the Nintendo Switch kind of makes it an interesting thing because there is no virtual console on the system. So you don't really know what sort of emulators and whatnot can run on it. Well, as I was visiting different websites online, I came across a website called thenerdmag.com, and they actually had a really well-written article talking about a bunch of things going on in Nintendo Switch hacking, and I was actually pretty blown away at some of the emulators they have running on the Nintendo Switch right now. And so in this video, I wanted to basically talk about the state of Nintendo Switch hacking, the state of emulators running on the Switch, and what it could mean for the future of the system. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about the Nintendo Switch being hacked.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards!
Hacker Man. He's the most powerful hacker of all time.
In order to take advantage of the breakthroughs in the hacking of the Nintendo Switch, you have to have your Nintendo Switch with firmware 3.0. And right now, Nintendo Switch's firmware is at 4.1. So if you've ever updated your Nintendo Switch, you will not be able to hack your system currently. They are working on ways around that, of course. That's pretty much what hacking companies do. They want to have firmware running on anything so that people can put emulators and stuff on the system. Now, as far as actually putting the firmware cracks onto your system, it's not going to be a how-to video. I'm not really interested in that because I don't plan on doing it myself. I'm more interested in what is actually running and what this means for the future of virtual console and whatnot. So it's not going to be a how-to video. It does seem like it's pretty easy, but be warned that doing things like hacking your Nintendo Switch's firmware does void your warranty. So if you brick your system, you pretty much have a $300 doorstep. So keep that in mind if you plan on checking out this stuff. But like I said, I'm more interested in the emulators running on the system. Now, there's a whole bunch of emulators running on the system, including ones that I would never think of. Of course, you have the NES running on the Nintendo Switch, and it's kind of like, yay! You know, I've been playing NES emulators, like I said, since 1999. Emulators for the NES can pretty much run on anything nowadays. I'm pretty sure my gold Casio watch can run an NES emulator. So while it is interesting, and we have had, of course, golf running on the Nintendo Switch with that Iwata tribute, it's not that cool, you know, really. It's like, okay, it can run the NES. Great, everything can run the NES. Keeping with Nintendo systems, there's also the Super Nintendo running on the platform. Once again, not a huge deal. I believe my PSP runs SNES perfectly fine. So, you know, I don't really care about that. I guess it is interesting in the grand scheme of things. You are going to get SNES games and NES games on the Nintendo Switch. That's already confirmed. So, you know, once again, not a big deal. Other systems, though, make it a little bit interesting. Now, all of these systems are using a customized RetroArch, which is sort of a user interface for emulators on different platforms. The first thing, though, was the Atari Lynx, and that's pretty cool, honestly. The Atari Lynx was definitely a very underrated system. There isn't much footage of the Atari Lynx running on the Nintendo Switch right now, but that was a really interesting system, a system I never really got into. So that's pretty cool to see. Now, the next system is actually very interesting, though, and that's the Atari Jaguar. And that's something that I think a lot of people probably have never thought about putting on their Nintendo Switch. The Atari Jaguar was a super cool system. I did a video review on the system, and there's actually some really cool games on the platform that a lot of people have never played because they were Jaguar exclusives. Games like Alien vs. Predator or Iron Soldier. These are timeless games that I find to be really, really fun. So to see it on the Nintendo Switch, that's pretty interesting. The biggest one of them all, though, although it runs like crap, The Sega Saturn. There's a Sega Saturn emulator running on the Switch. And like I said, it runs like crap right now. You know, it's definitely not optimized for anything. And a lot of these emulators really aren't fully optimized. You're not able to use your Joy-Cons and whatnot with these emulators. So it's very early in progress. But to see this much progress already, you know, within just a few months of hacking the system is kind of promising. And having the fact that you could possibly have Sega Saturn games running on a Nintendo Switch, I might actually go out and buy another Switch just to have a portable, you know, Sega Saturn, because that would just be amazing. And once again, it's not just limited to console emulation as well. There's actually a full PC version of Doom running on the system, and it runs beautifully. You know, that original Doom style is just so much fun. It's definitely a timeless game. So to see that on here is pretty cool as well. Although there was Doom running on the DS back in the day from what I remember, because I used to hack my DS because I was one of those guys. But all of this is just very, very interesting to see these different emulators running on the system, because you already know that there's been heavy rumors that Wii and GameCube games are going to come to the Nintendo Switch as well in some sort of virtual console format or downloadable format. So it really opens up your mind to see what sort of stuff can run on the Nintendo Switch with just a few months of development time for these things, and these hackers just getting their, you know, feet wet essentially with these different systems on the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch could end up being really, really interesting. You know, the PSP had a huge hacking, community for that system, because you were able to just flash the firmware and then put all sorts of stuff on there, from retail releases to PS1 games to emulators. And the Nintendo Switch screen is so much better than the PSP screen. So it's very interesting. What does this sort of mean though for the future of the system? Obviously, Nintendo is going to do everything within their power to create firmwares that will not allow this. That's just commonplace. That's protecting their IPs, and of course not allowing outside stuff to run on their system. But if you're able to run an Atari Jaguar, if these people are able to figure out things like the Atari Jaguar, even getting a base Sega Saturn emulator running on the system, although it doesn't run good, it still runs on the system. It's very interesting to see what this means for the future of the Nintendo Switch when it comes to the Virtual Console. We know little to nothing about the Virtual Console right now, and a lot of people are super interested in that. While me, myself, I'm not too invested in it, I do think it's cool to be able to take some of these games on the go with me. NES classics, N64 classics. What if you threw in some Atari Jaguar stuff? What if you threw in some Sega Saturn classics on the go? That could potentially be a really big game changer. So if these companies, these people, groups of hackers are able to figure out this sort of stuff, what does Nintendo know about the system? Obviously, they will know how to optimize everything better. Obviously, they will know how to do everything properly with their own emulators and with emulation on the Nintendo Switch. It's a very interesting thing. Like I said, if you plan on hacking your Nintendo Switch, you are doing so at your own risk. I'm not telling you to hack your system. I'm not telling you to put emulators on your system and to run different ROMs and ISOs and stuff on there. I'm just giving you guys the information because I think it's pretty fascinating. At the end of the day, what these guys are doing is pretty interesting stuff, and they've been doing it for years. They've been creating stuff on different platforms. You know, the PSP got hacked, the Nintendo DS got hacked. It's very interesting stuff, and it really helps sort of with video game preservation as well, because a lot of these games could get lost to the sands of time if someone doesn't preserve them. So that's sort of the positive side of emulators. But I just wanted to basically cover what is going on in the Nintendo Switch hacking scene and showcase some of these emulators that are running on the system, because even if they're not running all that good, it's still pretty impressive, and it's still pretty crazy to see if maybe this is a little glimpse into the future of the Nintendo Switch's Virtual Console if they can get these systems running on there. Anyways, let me know in the comments section down below what you think of these advancements. If you plan on hacking your Switch, if you've hacked your Switch, what sort of successes you've had with it, what sort of failures you've had with it, and thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications as well, because YouTube doesn't like to send out notifications to people. Hit that like button, leave me some stuff in the comment section. If you really enjoy me, check out the social media links in the description box down below. We got a Patreon, we got t-shirts, websites, social medias, like I said, Twitter, Facebook, all sorts of fun stuff. Follow me on all of those things, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.
RGT 85.